So this is gonna be a real quick video discussion or video review of Loki season 2, episode 4. I wanted to say, got the Meta World Peace jersey on, but I wanted to say I really like this episode. I know I didn't know I only did 2 Ahsoka reviews. I just got caught up. I was watching everybody else's reviews. I didn't really do my own. By the time I was planning my own, it was like everybody. It was the next episode already on some of them, and then I kind of got behind on the episodes. I was real busy, but I'm trying to keep up with Loki. Episode 4. So I didn't do a review for episode 1, 2, and 3. I know some people, the first 4 episodes came out, and some people got a chance to see them early. I saw one review, I didn't really read it, but the headline would seem like they didn't like it. They were like, oh, this is going all in the wrong direction or whatever. But I was like, after watching episode 4, so I was skeptical on the first, how they were going to be. I mean, episode 1 was great, so then I was like, so how could this person have, I was like, the next 3 episodes must be terrible if this person didn't like these first 4 episodes. But after watching all 4 episodes, I'll say like this was really good. Episode 1, Loki came back and he's trying to explain to Mobius everything that was going on. By now you've all seen it, and Mobius didn't remember him at first, this and that. So, after that, a bunch of things have happened. Like first 3 episodes, they meet up with Sylvie, and then Victor Timely, Sylvie tries to kill him, all of this and that, Ravonna, all of those things. Maybe I'll go back and do a review for those episodes, but probably not. I'll probably just try to keep going for the rest of the season. But, I felt episode 4 was amazing. The best thing about it to me was that it wasn't predictable. Now, maybe it was predictable to some of you guys watching or whatever, but to me, it didn't seem like it was predictable at all. It's not what I expected. Especially the ending. So spoiler alert, if you didn't see the end of the episode. I'm not going to get into it immediately, but there were even things that during the episode, it seemed like, this is about to lead to a trope. Like, we know where this is going. And then something different happened. Something that I didn't expect happened. A character acting in a way that I didn't expect. And it wasn't like completely out of character, like Game of Thrones season 8, let's go into the catacombs while we're fighting someone that could raise zombies. I'm a brilliant strategist for all these seasons, and now I make a mistake. No, it wasn't nothing like that. But it seemed like for a second I was like, are they making a foolish mistake? Like why is he here at the TVA by himself when the episode first starts? Victor Timely is there by himself for a minute, but because no one's around, everyone's panicking, so it seemed like the whole place is empty. I'm like, I know they didn't just send him to the TVA alone and it's empty, but it wasn't empty. Everybody was just in a different part from where he first entered through the time door. And then, of course, he meets up with B-15, and then Loki and Mobius came quickly. And then that's where the episode begins. But at first, for the first minute, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. He's gonna be wandering around this place all alone for the whole episode. I liked him meeting Ouroboros, and then I'm showing how, of course, it wasn't Ouroboros, a loop that repeats himself. He learned his information from Ouroboros, and Ouroboros learned his information from Victor Timely the first time that he met Victor Timely, which is, of course, who even knows? Since eons ago, time doesn't even pass in the TVA, so eons and actually not eons ago, So it's crazy where the loop is, which of course brings up some people probably won't wonder about it that much, but me, I'm like, so who was the first one to know? Was it Ouroboros or was it Victor Timely? And I think it's probably Victor Timely, and maybe Victor Timely, because you know how they saying he's born in the 1800s, but isn't Kang supposed to be from the 31st century? So maybe the TVA was created when the original Kang from the 31st century, because they haven't mentioned from the 31st century yet, except for when they met He Who Remains. He actually said he was from the 31st century, so it could be that this all happened when He Who Remains once before, like there's just a repeating loop. Then he could have sent a variant in the past or manipulated things so that he could be born in the 1900s and stuff like that. But then the original Victor Timely, he also went back and told Ouroboros, all of this stuff, and then that started the loop by him, yes, being from the 31st century, but then going back and also having another version of him born in the 1800s and giving him that information, and then that information really going to Ouroboros and starting a loop. But however it happened, it was cool that they were like nerding out over each other. Like they wanted to sign it. He's like, can you sign my copy of the manual? And they both wanted each other to sign their books. I did like the moments where there were tension, like when Mobius wants to have pie again. Like the first time he wanted to have some pie, it didn't seem like that big. But now, like Sylvie pointed out, like, come on, you're just going to have some pie. You're avoiding something, you're avoiding your timeline, and you don't really, it's not that big of a deal because you haven't looked for your timeline. You haven't seen the life that you had, and you're scared to. So that was cool. Ouroboros and the three of them. I don't think they should have left them alone with one guard. I do think them, like, Sylvie sent Ravonna sent Renslayer to the end of time in the last episode, at the end of episode 3, and left her there. And I understand she didn't know that she had Miss Minutes with her, who would have been able to create a time door, but they did get back, so I guess Miss Minutes doesn't even need the I forgot what it's called, those pads that they use to transport through a time door or whatever. Maybe I'm just not remembering that right. But so Miss Minutes, oh, how could I forget in the beginning, the big cliffhanger from the last episode, from episode 3, at the end, there's supposed to be a secret that Miss Minutes knows about Renslayer. And of course, in the beginning, she tells her that Renslayer helped Kang during the multiversal war, and then she shows her like a playback, a video of Kang telling her, like, I'd be honored to lead with you, And then what happens? Of course, when she's like, they're waiting for us back at the TVA, and she goes back, and he tells Miss Minutes, hey, activate protocol 42, erase her memory, and everybody else's, erase all of their memories. So I'm wondering if the people in the TVA were all not originally, like Kang plucked them from their timelines and made in order to join his army, and they promised them all something. Like maybe it wasn't just Ravonna. Maybe Ravonna got the biggest promise, which is to lead, but everybody else, oh, you'll never die. You'll be outside of time, this and that, who knows? But what we do know is that he had her erase her memory, and that she was the commander of his army. So while she was there actually working to protect all the timelines, he was just at the end of time relaxing, And so she was very angry about that. And Miss Minutes is like, we don't need him. We could do this alone. Then comes the scene. I know I'm doing things out of order. I only watched the episode once last night. It was late. It was like 12:30 at night. So I watched it and went straight to sleep. But actually, I didn't end up going to sleep till way later than that. But I watched it and then tried to go straight to sleep. But so when it cuts to the captured TVA agents, the security force, that's Docs and, what was it, X5? Brad, whatever his name. I don't know if I think it's X5, but Brad is his name. And the rest of them that were planning to bomb the timelines, Ravonna and Miss Minutes shows up after Brad. He tries to convince him that they can escape and they could all have lives on the timeline. And she's like, "Oh yeah, you're the one who ruined our plan. Was your life on the timeline? Like we saw you being an actor, you know." And I was wondering. I thought these characters were gonna do something, Then comes Ravonna and Miss Minutes, and Ravonna tells her like to join, and Doc's is like, where's B-15? Doc doesn't know that B-15 is. I guess she doesn't realize B-15 wasn't working with Ravonna or whatever. She's like, Ravonna's like, oh, she's making her bid to take over the TVA, completely lying. Or maybe it's just that since taking over the TVA is such a huge goal to her, she thinks it's a huge goal to everyone. Like, that's why they're doing this, and they're not actually trying to save the timeline. But so Ravonna tries to get Dox and X5 and everyone else to join her. And Dox is like, no. She offers them a life on a timeline. Dox is like, no, like, I won't work for you. And so Miss Minutes starts up that machine, that crushes everybody. And she's like, X5 steps away from them. He's like, I'm joining Ravonna. And Dox calls him Bradley, which once again hints at them having a deeper relationship. Now, it looks like there's a big age gap, but, that could happen. So I don't know what their relationship was, if she was just a mentor, or if people thought that she was his mother. But then if she was his mother, it's like, come on. You gotta watch that happen to your mother. Because they all said no, and then Dox is like, how does it feel that we're willing to die instead of work with you? And then they all get crushed to death in the box, as it gets smaller and smaller. And X5, he takes it kind of hard, but he didn't want to die with him. He wanted to go back and be the movie star, the models and everything. He's like, I'm not risking it. So after that, we have B5 comes in. B-15 comes in once they're all gone, and she sees the horror that happens. Miss Minutes is cutting down everybody's I really wish communicators, the devices that they use for the time doors and everything. So she can't tell them what's going on. They come back. In between this happening, Ouroboros and Victor Timely and then that other guy, I don't remember his name, they're working to fix the temporal loom and the device that Victor Timely took with him and was that episode 2 or no, that was episode 3? That device that he took with him, no, that was the end of the episode. Well, that was episode 2. Episode 3 at the end, before Sylvie took Ravonna to the end of time. So yeah, that device that he took with them is exactly what they needed to try to fix this temporal loom. They explain it, the loom's not wide enough to fit all those timelines and, make them into one. So they're working on it, they're working together. They leave the 3 of them alone. Mobius is like, leave them alone. That's when he wants to get Pi, so they could work together. That one security guard there, Victor Timely, wants to get some hot chocolate. And then, of course, the guard that's with him gets pruned by X5, Bradley. And then that's the whole thing. And then Miss Minutes messing up with everything. So Ouroboros is like, I could shut her down, but I'll have to restart the system, and then we won't have any of the safety protocols. And it's like, Moby's like, what safety protocols? It's like the ones that keep people from using magic in the TVA, the dampeners. And of course, both Loki and Sylvie are like, turn it on, like, restart it now. Like, why were you doing that? And like, of course, he doesn't understand that so many issues would have been solved if Loki I mean, so many things would have been way easier if Loki and Sylvie could have used their magic in the TVA all along. So now that they found that out, they take control. They lure X5 into a hallway. Sylvie sneaks behind him, enchants him, takes control of his mind. He goes in to where Renslayer is. After she has captured, he captured Victor Timely for her and brought her to Renslayer. So they're interrogating him. Of course, Miss Minutes and Ravonna are not happy to see him, so they're giving him a hard time. And then once Miss Minutes, of course, but by this time when they go back, when X5 returns, Miss Minutes is already gone because they reset the system, and so that they can use their magic. And now he's enchanted. Boom! He prunes Renslayer. They save Victor Timely. It's a whole thing about who's gonna bring the device into the temporal loom because of the radiation. Like last time it was Mobius, but he definitely didn't want to do it again. And they had that little argument. Him and Loki's like, it's your turn. So Loki's gonna do it, but no, Victor Timely, he looks and he's like, no, I'm gonna go because something could go wrong. And he grabs the device, he puts on the suit, opens the door, and he's instantly spaghettified by the cosmic radiation. And then the episode just ends with everyone and all mouths open agape. It just ends on a bigger cliffhanger. Now that's a cliffhanger. The whole I know a secret about you from last episode, that was a little cliffhanger. This is a big cliffhanger. Because now it's like, who knows? We know the issue. We know they got to try to get out, but we have no idea how they could possibly get out of this situation. I mean, hop in the time door, but then are all the timelines destroyed, or are they just out of control? Because remember, they blew up the timelines in one of the previous episodes, yet the timelines started to grow again, and some people thought that they didn't like that. It took away from the drama, but it's kind of a necessity. And also, if it is an Ouroboros, as time is constantly continuing, then of course every timeline is going to come to its end and start over again when it ends, which is probably why the TVA constantly need to prune timelines. They probably had, in the past, to prune some timelines more than once in the first place, So that's my review. I think if I was going to give it a score, I'll give this episode a 10. This episode is an absolute 10 for me. I loved when I'm surprised, and I did not expect some things. Like Victor Timely instantly getting spaghettified. I did not expect that. Now, I really did think it was going to be like, oh, this isn't great. They solved this problem. What's the next problem? I also thought Miss Minutes was going to be the main villain. Okay, Miss Minutes is evil. Miss Minutes is evil. And she always had that evil, that little tinge of evil about her. You could tell like she's a little evil. When she watched those people be killed, the joy on her face, it was pure evil. And it was so good to watch, just to see like, yes, this character is evil. And here's if you were wondering, if you were thinking, oh, she's not that bad. She's kind of funny. Oh, she was just a little obsessed with He Remains, but that's not really that bad. No, she's evil. And the joy on her face when those people died was like sick. I know it's like she's animated because she's a clock, but still, that was some good animating. And I was like, wow. So I was thinking she was gonna be the villain, but then they got her up out of there, and Renslayer and Victor Timely. So now we don't know what's gonna go on. So if you have theories, let me know. I don't really have any theories right now. Not right now. I have to think about it. I have to watch the episode again. Like I said, I watched it after midnight last night. Only watched it once. Didn't watch it today. Was supposed to be coming out to work on my car. you know, of course I wasn't going to be working on this, but thought the world peace jersey was pertinent right now. Don't even realize. So, you know, have a nice day, and I'll see you guys for the next episode.